360 videos have fascinated me for a while. I fondly remember the mid-2010s of YouTube when they first integrated 360 videos onto the platform, but I'm not nostalgic for them per se. Watching them was inconvenient most of the time, but it was exciting seeing people try something new.
Suck it in, man.
Except for a couple animated videos here and there, most of the 360 videos I remember were vlogs trying out the cool new feature. More recently, I wanted to experiment with the format myself by using my 2D lookalike style I make using Blender. The original plan was to animate my character simply frying an egg, with a big emphasis on the egg cracking animation and the use of flat colors. Then the project evolved into a 360 video, since I was testing out how to create one using Blender, but then the scene became quite boring. The outlines looked great, but all the colors were dull and looking around the scene was pointless. The more objects I modeled and the more I messed around with the color, the more broken things became. Literally, I put a hole in the corner of the room, letting light from the night sky shine through. Rubble was strewn about everywhere, the TV was tilted, and gunk occupied in numerous corners. I then doubled down on the idea by making the clock broken, and that was when I discovered how to turn the inconvenience of 360 videos into an advantage. Scattering secret animations here and there with a main animation up front and center would hopefully incentivize people to look around more. If you don't want the secrets spoiled for you, I recommend watching the 360 video yourself. Most of the secret little things I animated were just why not moments while bantering with friends, saying random things like, hey, what if I added spooky footsteps near the hallway door? When someone asked me, why is the wall broken? I didn't have a reason, so I made one. I added UFOs in a news report to make the world look like it was in peril. The UFO news report was actually a reused animation from my first attempt at animating lip syncing, but I never finished it. So, I gave it a background, drew a UFO, and it was good to go on emergency broadcast in that world. Somehow. When I created the tiled wall in the kitchen, I knew right away that I wanted to make a tile pop out and reveal a secret in the void it left behind. All it needed was a creepy eye to gaze from within the darkness. Along with the broken wall, I broke the clock even more than it already was by making it do sick tricks every now and then. To make the rest of the kitchen appear more lived in, I placed drawings and magnets onto the fridge, as well as some stacked pots atop it. One of the notes has my dearest slug cat drawing on it, and another has a reference to the small robots from one of my other animations. Above all else, the main thing I was happy with was my use of colour. I don't have the best history of correctly using colours, and the initial texturing and colouring phase of the project was rough, but at some point, everything just clicked. When I first added colour to the scene, I wanted to limit the shading to flat colours, which clearly wasn't working, even with the blue walls. It took a giant hole in the wall for me to realise that the shading might be part of the issue, and that maybe I was limiting colours in the wrong way. So, I made every shadow-covered thing more purple, contrasting the moonlit lounge and the outdoors. I also made the grease pencil outlines a little more purple, and now it's one of my new favourite colours to use for drawing details directly onto objects. A lot of the models were directly inspired by stuff in my house, such as the kitchen table and chairs. I think what makes some of the models stand out more is how I used grease pencil to draw the detail. I pre-rendered the animated floorboard textures in a different scene, but everything else had their details drawn directly onto them. The chalkiness of the lines were also a byproduct of a quicker render time, and to be honest, I prefer the way they look. The countless hours I spent trying to replicate that style have been redeemed by accident, which is kind of underwhelming. There were many technical aspects of making the environment that I really enjoyed. It was my first time using geometry nodes, which I ended up using to make the purple flowers, which I based off of the purple flag and Oxalis triangularis flowers. Despite the scene having a purple tint over the shadowy areas, the flowers are the only things which are an outstanding purple. Now in any future project, I can simply just draw a line and a flower will appear. It was also the first time I ever used a physics simulation with cell fracture. I used it to create the gaping hole in the wall, which took a lot of iterations to get just right. For those who are curious about how I even rendered the scene as a panoramic video, it's actually pretty easy. Usually when you make a panoramic render in Blender, you just chuck a camera with these settings into a scene with the Cycles render engine selected, then render out the frames and you're done. Unfortunately, that's not what I did. Blender has another render engine, Eevee, and unlike Cycles, it supports simple cell shading but not panoramic renders. So instead, I set up 6 cameras like so, rendered out each individual frame from each camera, turned each side into a video, then cube mapped everything together, then rendered it in Cycles. Because I rendered out a different part of the animation 7 times, including the panoramic version, I ended up rendering 3,395 frames of animation, except I didn't. Turns out the top view of the 360 video is consistently just one color, so I only had to render that side once. Once I finished all the modeling, the coloring, and the details, I could finally animate. First, I blocked out all the key poses I wanted the character to do. The animation was originally meant to be 18 seconds long. But the more I animated, the more I spaced out the blocked out poses, adding extra animations like the fridge not closing properly on the first go. Turning the camera on, getting to the fridge, then getting to the stove was meant to take up 5 seconds of the animation, but in the final version, it took about 27 seconds. Parts of the blocked out animation made no sense, and it completely negated the whole reason I wanted to make the project, which is to show off the egg cracking animation. There was even a plan for the character to pull a drawer open to get the frying pan out, but then it wouldn't have had any oil in it, nor would it have had the time to heat up, so everything just fell apart. At some point, I ended up just deleting the whole blocked out animation. While it was quite helpful at the beginning, the direction of the animation had changed too much. I continued the animation with a fresh mind, not having to worry about the timing from the blocking out phase, nor having to restrict myself to certain key poses. I had a lot of fun animating the eggs, which I did in a unique way from everything else. Initially, each egg has nothing inside it, but as the egg is being cracked, the egg is swapped out for 2 broken shells, and the innards are moved in between them. Each frame of the egg innards spilling out is a unique frame I manually sculpted, then animated using shape keys. I animated the yolk by manually keyframing each position I wanted in it, nothing fancy required. The egg being thrown at the scrap bin was animated in a very similar way, but I keyframed its size as well as its position. There were a few parts of the animation I couldn't quite improve. I think the smoke animation is fine, and it's definitely better than its original iterations, but I couldn't find a good reference for the smoke without burning my house down. Some of the walking animations were a little strange, and I think it's one of my current weaknesses as an animator, but I'm getting better. There were a few animations I don't think I planned out very well, like throwing the shell and pouring the eggs. The likely reason for that is because I animated everything from multiple angles, but the camera stays still the whole time, so I wasn't accounting for angles you would never see. But despite these things I can improve on, I really enjoyed the process of making this animation. Once I'd finished the whole thing, I managed to set it up in VR and watched it like that. I don't think I'll make another 360 video, unless I come up with an idea I really enjoy. Also, here is some behind the scenes of some of the animations I made specifically for this video. I spent ages making the environment, and I'm glad I got to use it more even after finishing the main project. I'm still going to animate whatever I find fun, and there will always be more of that.